Well, I think it may be officially afternoon, or we're moments from it. So I hope the morning has been beneficial to you. I can say from my perspective, I did get a good idea of something I'm going to do the first of next week, and a couple more that I've got to learn more about to be able to use. But I at least got the perspective that I need to know more about it. I did want to say that we will give some more information after the keynote about where, for sure, everyone in here knows where to access all of the information that you've heard this morning in a technology environment. That is in your folder, and we will note that again. But I want us to spend really the next 20-25 minutes, really whatever Dr. Ray wants to take, to learn about this fast and furious world of technology we live in. And so I will briefly introduce Dr. Ray, and then I'm going to turn it over to her for a great session from a wonderful presenter. Kecia Ray currently serves as the Executive Director of the MNPS Technology Department, Learning Technology Department. I actually like that term much better. And she is the president of ISTE. How many of you know ISTE? Fantastic. You know what ISTE stands for? It is the International Society of Technology in Education, and she is the current president. It's wonderful to have her in our city. I was actually in D.C. not too long ago with lots of folks from across the nation, and I turn around and there's Kecia. It was fantastic to have some Nashvillians in some wonderful positions making some national policy and being a leader for our state. Ray was actually the first executive director for learning technology, and I think that says something about where Metro Schools has gone and also where we're going in many of our districts to highlight learning technology and what we do with technology in pedagogy and in our classrooms. During her career, she has served as an assistant professor at Middle Tennessee State University, where she conducted research on assessing technology literacy, and she was the director of technology research in the Office of Science Outreach at the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. She participated in the development of national standards for both engineering and technology, as well as 2 national education technology plans. She is the author of 3 books and several papers on designing instruction and distance learning. She's also, interestingly enough, conducted research in the area of technology integration and distance learning, not only in the United States, but also Canada and South Africa. And so she truly does have an international perspective. So without further ado, for an interesting presentation, let me turn it over to Dr. Ray.
Well, if it's okay with you, I'm going to just kind of move about the room. Is that all right with everybody? And if I don't get on your side of the room, just say, come on over here, and I'll try to come over there. Because I cannot see the screens from there, and I'm codependent on my screen. So, as I think all of us are. So there's our learning technology website. How many of you are in districts where there's a learning technology department? Oh, I'm so sad. Well, we'll have to change that. Because what the Learning Technology Department does is it's your advocate to make sure that, you know, there are whole filters that are taken down so that you can do YouTube and Adam can do Twitter. And, I mean, it's just, I think every district needs and deserves a learning tech department. So that's ours. And if you want, we can send you that link. I'll get it out to you. And you can access it, and we'll be your pseudo learning tech department until you get one here in the district. So how many of you have seen this picture? Okay, so it's what do you want kids to do with technology? The wrong answers are make Prezzies, start blogs, create Wordles. What's that one say? I'm holding. Oh, thank you. Animoto, design, da-da-da. The wrong answers are use the tool. The right answers are raise awareness, collaborate, find answers to their questions, ask questions, become curious, right? Those are the right answers. And the bottom, which is my favorite, take action and drive change. Technology is a tool, it's not an outcome. So, I also had on that slide that the Common Core and ISTE are interwoven. When they were developing the core, they used the ISTE standards as some of the base standards for developing the core. So there's 63 instances, that Wordle, but there's 63 instances of the ISTE standards represented in the Common Core. So if you're teaching the core, you're teaching the ISTE standards. So what's trending in tech? I started out with some classrooms from around the world. I do have an opportunity to travel. Thankfully, my district is very, I guess, happy that I have this expertise and can share it. So they let me travel abroad. And so I've gone this year to these places, South Africa, and I just want to point out that you'll see technology in all these places, even in South Africa. Now in South Africa, they have labs versus one-to-one initiatives or where the technology's in classrooms because it's $1 a minute to access the internet. So they have serious issues with internet access, but they have a big program called eLearning Africa, and they still have a tremendous amount of technology in their schools. It's just highly regulated. In Canada, they have many, many districts that are already one-to-one. And one-to-one in the true fashion that kids take the computers home and do work at home and then bring it back the next day. Australia is focused on learning environments and what the classrooms look like. So when you go to classrooms in Australia, kids are on the floor. They're working in groups. There's no individual desks in schools in Australia. It's amazing. There's comfortable furniture. They're not afraid kids are going to tear it up. There's comfortable furniture. And the kids didn't tear it up. It was awesome. And there's collaborative spaces. And there's a lot of technology, but it's not in-your-face technology. It's just kind of in the background and kids access it when they need it. And then in Dubai, I had the chance to go to Dubai this year because they want to do an online learning program for all of the Arab states. And so I'm working with them on designing that program, but they have small devices that they give out to their students. So iPods, small devices. They don't have laptops or anything like that. And if you know anything about the Middle East, you know that they teach their girls in a location, their boys in a location. And so the boys tend to have a little more technology than the girls, but the girls are allowed to go to technology colleges. When they go to the technology colleges, they have to live on campus, and they're behind kind of a wall and restricted from interacting with anyone else when they're in those colleges. So this is what we find in some of our classrooms. Interactive video conferencing. How many of you have that in your schools? How many of you use it? Okay, good. Excellent. That's what So you'll see that in our schools. Interactive whiteboards. How many of you have those in your schools? And do you love them? Yes. Would you give them up for a regular whiteboard? No, most people would. But that's the kind of technology you either love or you hate. So one of the things that we do in our district, and ISTE is also an advocate of, is no top-down decision-making when it comes to adopting technology. Because it's very personal. Technology is very personal. It's personal to the teacher, and it's personal to the student. This is one of our classrooms. This is J.T. Moore Middle School, and all of our students have iPads in the 6th grade there. So all 6th grade students have their own iPad. They're able to take it home, the instructions, app-based instruction, and we redesigned the learning environments to have collaborative spaces, and they also have an interactive wall that we painted with interactive paint so they can project on that wall and blah, blah, blah. And the total cost of doing that for 2 classrooms, guess how much? $150,000.
Wow.
Which is not a lot when you think about 2 classrooms. And this is a classroom. Y'all are like, it's really good. And don't they deserve it? If it was your classroom, wouldn't you deserve it? Okay. This is a one-to-one. This is what we see in a lot of, happens to be in California. In a lot of California school districts, they do have technology for every student. Again, they take it home, and they're pretty much one-to-one. So the next part of my, so that's what classrooms look like. Now I want to go through what, I tried to catch some of the Ignite sessions so I could kind of capture everything that was shared. I'm going to see how well I did. Y'all are going to let me know. So Better Lesson is a website that allows you to share lessons and resources. So you can plan your curriculum and you can share resources across the country. actually internationally, but you'd have to check that you want to share international lessons. It's free and it's amazing. SlideShare, how many of you are familiar with SlideShare? Okay, SlideShare allows you to put PowerPoints up, and not only do you put yours up, but you can steal somebody else's PowerPoint. So, awesome. It's SlideShare.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Class Dojo, how many of you are familiar with Class Dojo? Okay, I like that. My niece taught me about Class Dojo. She's 8, and she loves it for her classroom. She wanted to show me her marks that day, and I was like, in what? Class Dojo. And I said, you know, what is that? And of course, she gave me the little lesson. And then she said, well, I'm surprised you don't know about this, Aunt Kecia. I said, I'm surprised too. This is Power School by Pearson. All of these are also trending internationally. So Power School is what some of you may use for your student information system. It used to be called Chancery, and then Pearson bought it and renamed it Power School. Remind 101, there was a session on Remind 101, so that's pretty cool. It's a way to text message. Educreations. Educreations lets you create video lessons and then share them on your iPad. Picks for Learning. This was in the very last one that was in this room. Hope you gave this. These are copyright-free images for education. Edmodo. How many of you do Edmodo? Okay, Edmodo. I prefer Edmodo for middle school, middle grades, and Class Dojo for elementary grades. But Edmodo is a way that you can help kids connect. They can do social connections. They can do discussions, etc. Socrative. This is Adam. You did this one this afternoon, right? So it's a response, a sort of response system that you can use. It's free. And then this are all the blogging tools that you can use, all the social connecting tools, Yammer, Twitter, Slide. All of these are just ways that kids connect, whether you realize it or not, through social media. And these are learning management systems. How many of you have a learning management system in your district, which would be like a Blackboard, a Moodle, okay. So that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed in education. And when people ask me, where do you think the education is going to be in 5 years? I say, every school district is going to have a learning management system and an instruction management system. Because you have to have a way that you can get content to kids. There's too much to teach in the time that you have to teach them. So you have to have a way that you can communicate with the kids beyond the school day. And the pushback is always, well, what if they don't have internet? Well, we're not going to have that conversation right now. We're going to... I have it plenty. But just because some of the students don't have access doesn't mean the ones that do have access shouldn't have access to this content. And we can make opportunities for the students that don't have access in other ways. We're trying to get phone companies to pay for kids to have access in their homes. And the phone companies are actually stepping up and saying, yeah, we want to be part of the conversation. What do we need to do? So in the Netherlands, in Finland, in Ireland, I'm missing another country, it's provided as a service. It's like water, right? And electricity. So when I speak to the FCC, I tell them that. This is a utility. We're past the days of this being a luxury. When you decided, federal government, to put the WIC service online, and the only way they can get more money for their WIC program is to log into the internet, you made it a necessity. So they hear me, and I get invited back regularly to talk to them about that. Next is a instruction management system. And instruction management systems connect the learning, the assessment, to the instruction. So you have assessments, and then you create the instruction in the instructional management system, i.e. you design your lesson, you upload your learning objects, and the students can go into that while you're teaching and access the lesson and access the learning objects. So you're not passing a lot of stuff out or making a lot of copies. They're clicking, they're going in. Now, let's say you have a student that prefers to see it in print. Can they do that? Sure, they print it to your classroom networked computer. and then they walk over there, they get it. So you haven't wasted any paper. It's a green way to do school. It has curriculum, it has structure, it has an assessment, and it also has professional development. So it can look at your scores, and it can say, wow, this teacher's doing fabulous, but in math, teaching this particular thing, a lot of her kids are struggling. I'm going to send her an email and let her know these are some math classes that are taking place in professional development that she may be interested in, or he. And then you can sign up for those classes and get a little assistant in teaching that skill. You may think you're doing a fabulous job. That's how I thought I was doing a great job. And I couldn't figure out why my kids were not getting it. But then I went to some professional development, and I thought, okay, I'm missing this step. I'm not teaching them this. And I'm not waiting for them to really master this. I'm moving on past that. And as soon as I got the PD, I improved. Cloud technology. Everything's in the cloud, right? Everything's in the cloud. What that does for education is it makes it monumentally easier for our kids and you to store documents and data and move from system to system to system and school to school to school. So for our district that has 150 schools and programs, 87,000 kids, that's necessary. We need them to be able to move through all of the schools when they transfer. And if they move into Williamson County or Rutherford County or Sumner County, we would like for them to be able to access their content when they move as well. And they'll be able to do that if everything's in the cloud. They can just transfer it to, especially like we're moving to Microsoft 365, they just transfer it to SkyDrive. The next district has a SkyDrive. They move it into there. They lose nothing. And it also keeps a portfolio for them that they're not interrupted. I went to 15 different schools. I went to 4 different high schools. So I'm super sensitive to having access to my stuff when I transfer. Cloud technology. Poplet, it's just a place for you to put your ideas and brainstorm. Dropbox, how many of you do Dropbox? Oh my gosh, I love Dropbox. Dropbox helps me travel internationally. Because when you travel abroad, it's really hard to take a lot of technology with you. It gets confiscated a lot. And so I don't take anything. I tell the people that I'm going to present with or be with what I need. It's there when I get there, but all my files are in Dropbox and I can get in. And I haven't been in any country that I haven't been able to access Dropbox, which is awesome. Dropbox. Save your files, they're with you everywhere. Evernote, how many of you use Evernote? I love Evernote. Evernote's a way that you can keep notes on the fly. Doing a lot of flying, I keep all my Sky Miles information in there. So when I get to the thing, I can just put it in. I never forget anything now that I have Evernote. I feel like a genius. But you can I also keep all of my workflow documents in there for my department, and I can share them with everyone in my department. So if you're a team leader and you have a grade chair or some kind of a PLC that you're managing, you can keep everything in Evernote and then share it out with everybody that's on your team. YouTube is blocked in all of our districts. There is YouTube for Education that is coming out, and it is unblocked. There's a little bit of a challenge with getting videos in YouTube for Education, but we're trying to work that out. ISTE actually is an advocate for trying to work that out because it affects pretty much every state but Michigan, who doesn't block their internet. Skype is another tool that's typically blocked, but you can get that unblocked. And Skype lets you video conference with anybody. It's also a great tool for doing international calling. Twitter, Adam is a genius in Twitter. I'm sure many of the rest of you are too. But Twitter is a way that you can share your content with your kids and do kind of immediate response in the classroom. It's a wonderful tool. Google Apps. Ashley talked about Google Apps. So Google Apps is just phenomenally better than it ever has been. And I'm sure they're only going to keep getting better because that's their goal, to beat Apple. So they've got all the video, the talk, the calendar, everything merges. Office 365 is trying to catch up to Google. So that tells you how good Google is on their apps. Symbaloo is a way to bookmark and have visual images of all the bookmarks, all the websites that you visit. Voiki
Have you used Voiki? So Voiki is a way, your kids will love it, especially if you want them to do a project where they have to do a speech to the class. They can put it in Voiki, and the person, the animated character, will do the speech for them. Capsules is a timeline. That was in one of the sessions today. I've never used this, but I'm getting ready to, because one of the things I have to do as ISTE president is keep a documentary of all of the things that I do and then share it out with the membership. So you'll be seeing that timeline posted in a couple of years. Go Animate is for animated videos. Jing, love Jing, it's screen capture. So if you want to show something to your students and you've got it on your computer or website or whatever and you're creating a presentation, I did my presentation 100% with Jing. I went and screencasted all of these websites and put them into a PowerPoint. This is Creative Commons. How many of you are familiar with Creative Commons? So Creative Commons is an organization that actually shares office space with ISTE. And their mission is to make sure that as much media is able to be shared free of copyright with everyone in education. TED Ed, how many are familiar with TED? So TED Ed is a way for you to flip your classroom. You can create videos here and upload them, create lessons and upload them, and they're available to your students, and this is all for free. And you can also use the videos and lessons that are already up there. This is Join Me.
It's just called TED Ed.
TED Ed. Mm-hmm. Join Me is a way to share your desktop. So if you have someone that you're trying to explain something to and it's on your desktop, I do this all the time. Usually around my budget, I'm trying to tell somebody this is what I'm reading on my budget to the budget director, and she's like, that's not what it says. I'm like, let me share my desktop. And I share my desktop with her, and she can see what I'm talking about. And she's like, oh, you've got the wrong spreadsheet. Right, that's what I was trying to tell you. So Join Me is a great way to quick share your desktop. It just sends a link to the person you're trying to share with. They click it, and it's automatic. Love it. This is Code Academy. So one of the things that ISTE is committed to is that all students know how to do computer programming. Logic is an essential skill. And Code Academy is a way that they can practice code. They have lessons on different codes. They can learn Ruby and Perl. And I'm pretty sure they don't have Fortran up there, which is what I used to teach here at Lipscomb. But they've got all the new and cool programming. This one is, I can't see it. Oh, this is Khan Academy. How many of you do Khan Academy? Now, what's the challenge with Khan Academy? Anybody know? Oh, there's a challenge. The videos are YouTube. And so what you have to do is work with your learning technology or IT department to get it unblocked. And we can call Khan Academy, and they can give you a designated IP address so that you'll always hit that IP address, and they unblock that IP address. So there is a solution so that you can use it in school. Apple in education. The iPad is a phenomenal tool for learning. It is a phenomenal tool for learning. There are a trillion apps. I got the chance to go to Cupertino a few weeks ago, and they have this table that's as big as this room that has all the apps running across the table. It's an interactive table. And it tells you how many downloads have happened for each app. And then when you touch it twice, so you touch it, it tells you the download. You touch it again, it tells you the last download and gives you a picture, this is scary, of who downloaded it. That's right. And you touch it again, and it opens the app in the little window on the table. It's awesome. In a Big Brother kind of way. I'm like, hey, I know that person. But you do need to go to iPads in education because they have phenomenal resources and they have top-rated apps. And the apps that they have recommended have been highly vetted by Apple educators, and you can bet that they're going to work and they're not going to mess up your iPad, and they're going to be what they like to say are safe apps. Okay, here's where my fabulous genius in the back is going to help me. How many of you have seen this infograph? So this came out last year, and this is the future of education. It started in 2012, and it takes us all the way to 2040. So it says that today, technology is fixed and centralized, either in a computer lab or within the classroom. And that's true, right? When you think about kids' access to technology for learning, it's going to be in your classroom or a lab in your school. One of the things that we're doing in our district is we're deconstructing labs, which is freaking a lot of people out. But it is the better way to do school, right? And it's certainly the better way to do online assessments. I don't know if any of you remember taking your number 2 pencil to the cafeteria to take your standardized test while they were fixing fish sticks. But that is not a good model. Not a good testing environment. Neither is a computer lab. They need to be tested on a computer they use every day, right? Something they're familiar with. They know this key stuck, gets stuck. So that's where we are today. We're moving. I'll show you where we're moving in a minute. Gamification. Now we've started gamification. If you came to ISTE, how many of you were in San Antonio? Oh, that's awesome. How come you didn't come say hi? Oh, that's right. You did. I mean, there's only 30,000 people there. I should have known all the people from Tennessee, though. I invited you to parties, and I'll invite, if I see your name on a list and you've got a Tennessee address, you'll get invited to the president's reception. So make sure you sign up. It's a great party. Gamification. So we had Jane McGonigal there who talked about gamification, and she's out there now. She's out there. She's about this small, but she is out there on gamification. But we are definitely moving to a more gamified learning environment. And that's where those learning management systems and instruction management systems come into play for moving to the gamification. Opening of information. So we've got video lessons, online school communities, education app stores, open courseware, digital textbooks. Now there's a big controversy about that. There's a controversy about that at our State Department because we want to use textbook monies that are allocated by law to buy digital tools. So we're having a big conversation at the state level about that. And I think people are getting it. We're going to do a tour. We're going to do a tour in Nashville with the legislators to try to help them have a deeper understanding of what that looks like. I think a lot of the reason that people, especially legislators, don't move towards something is because they don't understand it fully. So we're gonna try to educate them on that. Okay, so move down, digital classrooms. So we've got some digital classrooms, classroom performance dashboards where you can see, now the state has done, if you haven't, you'll see next year. There's 3 counties that are practicing it this year in a pilot, but the state has a phenomenal teacher dashboard that your district will be able to participate in. And that teacher dashboard has all the information you will ever need to know how to help your kids be successful academically. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a teacher dashboard. It's coming out through Richard Charlesworth's office, and 3 counties are piloting it right now. But it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Also with digital classrooms are cascading knowledge maps, and that is essentially grading for learning. When they learn it, you move on. When they learn it, you move on. Do you go back to it? Not necessarily if they've mastered it. It depends on where they score. Now, a couple of years from now, might you loop back? Yeah, because that's what the Common Core does. But the knowledge maps would be cascading, and they've mastered this. So if they've mastered it, when you loop back, do they get 10 questions or 5 questions? 5 questions. But all of that has to be in a digital environment for us to be able to manage that, right? You're not going to remember, and you're not going to call up the teacher 2 years from now and say, hey, I tested them, and here's what they got. It all has to be digitized. Desk-sized screens, I'm going to show you a picture of that in a minute. Object-embedded intelligence, meaning when you've got a learning object and they click on that, information comes up for them that is particular to them. So if they have, let's say you're teaching three-digit addition. I'm really having to go back in time because I have not taught for a while. I'm so sorry. I should go back and teach for a year just to refamiliarize. But 3-digit addition, right? So some kids get that pretty quick. Some kids need to go back to 2-digit so they can remember place value before they go to 3-digit. So these objects will open up. They'll be able to tell that the student doesn't have the capability to do 3-digit, and they'll move them back. Other students will be able to move forward. It's phenomenal, and it's personalized. And it's already in play. This is already in place in several systems. And then, move on down a little bit. Now, that was 2020, so we've already got some of this, right? Eye tracking, we've already got some of that. In Murfreesboro schools or Rutherford schools, they already use that for security, right? So we've already got some of that. Tangible computing, we don't have as much, but it's in development. It'll be here by 2030. And also virtual physical studios. So holograms, do we have holograms today? Yes, we do. We have them at MIT and at Cal State, San Diego. We do. Immersive virtual reality, do we have that today? Yes, it's at Harvard. Chris Deedy does immersive virtual reality. And all of this is supposed to be in our classrooms by 2040. Isn't that phenomenal? Y'all are like, oh my God, I'm going to retire. I know, I'm out. So the reason we have to move in this direction, though, is for this right here. 65% of today's grade school kids will end up at jobs that haven't been invented. Right? So how do you prepare kids for college and career when you don't know what it's going to look like? Right? You give them tools. You teach them the things that were on that first map. You teach them higher order thinking, collaboration, things that you know every kid's going to need in a business environment. Now he's got control of my computer. Okay, next. Right. So these are the things that are available today, right? We've got the holograms today. This is already in existence, right? All of this. This is a 3D printer, right? You know we've got those. We've got them in some of our schools. This is a collaborative table. This is an iPad. This is a flexible iPad. I saw this at Apple. You know it's illegal to take these pictures. So just pointing it out there. If you don't see me again, I'll be in Cupertino. But this exists today, and this is Adam at the Keynote. And what does he have on? Google Glass. And he's reading his Keynote from Google Glass. It was awesome. He was a nervous cat.
If they haven't seen that Keynote, they need to Google it. Yeah.
You can. Google it. It's on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter, and I've got it in my Twitter feed. So all of that in the back of your mind, let me give you a glimpse of what Microsoft thinks the future workplace is going to look like. Video, please. talking with his glasses. Google Glass. Watch this. I need one of those. I know. Now they're gonna cook dinner. That exists. Yeah. I've seen that in Microsoft. Well, what do you think? Think about this. I have a 5-year-old nephew. By the time he gets out of high school, the world will be like this. He started pre-K this year. He hates it. Okay, so if that's what the world is going to look like, then what does school need to look like? Right? How are we going to get them ready? Because we're kind of out of time, right? There's a big gap between where we are today and where the world's going to be in 20 years. So this is what Intel thinks school will look like. Now, you know those aren't iPads, right? Okay. Not for Intel. That's your learning management system. Instruction management system. Selecting his learning objects, bringing them up. That's a Lenovo, by the way. That already exists. monthly in projects, not in rows, all day, every day. That software is SketchUp, which is free. 3D printer, we've already got that today. Sharing out with other people across the district or state or country. Seeing if it works. Now, could we do that today? Yeah, we can do that. It's true. But let me tell you, I know money is always a conversation. And the last time, I guess maybe 3 weeks ago, I did a congressional briefing. And I was with President Obama's aide and a congressman, Rockefeller, that we were on the panel together. And the question from the audience was, all of this is going to take money, and we like what you've got going on, or what you're suggesting, but it's going to take money. And so I thought for a minute. They said, "So what is your recommendation? How do you feel about funding?" And everybody, we went through Rockefeller. Well, we got to get everybody on the same page, and everybody has to agree. And Obama's aide, well, we live in a democratic society, and everybody has to agree. And then it came my turn, and I took a big old gulp. And I said, when this country puts education first, we won't have to worry about agreeing, because we will have the right priority in play. And the only way we'll know that is when it's funded. You can fund everything else. You always find a way. You can find ways to fund monies to go out of this country every day. But until you decide as a Congress that this country's worth the funding and that our children are worth the funding, then we're always going to be at the bottom. So they ended the congressional briefing. But they've invited me back. And that's where, and Candace, Dr. McQueen, she goes up there a lot too. So they hear us, they keep inviting us back. We're unfiltered when we go, because not that many people get a chance to speak to Congress. I had a chance to be in Mooresville with the president when he announced the Connect Ed. I had a chance to talk to the FCC that ignited the Connect Ed initiative, because we talked about not having access to the internet in every city and state. And until you have that, you're just not stepping up. You're just not stepping up. So the FCC heard that. Obama heard that and invited me over to Mooresville to have the Connect Ed initiative announced. But, we cannot be afraid to speak up on behalf of our kids. We cannot. They can't do it. And their world is going to be what that video is. And they're not going to be able to compete. So your challenge and mine, is to turn every classroom into a classroom for the future, so that our kids will be prepared for the world that they're going to encounter. So they'll have the opportunities that you and I had, or more. They're going to compete with the kids in Dubai, and the kids in Australia, and the kids in Canada. And some of those countries, like Australia, are funding it. So if you want us to be globally competitive, and I'm not talking about you right now, I'm talking about you, then it has to be funded. But we have to be rebel rousers. We have to be loud and proud. We have to get up and let people know that we're committed to it. Because the perception is we're passive. And the perception is we don't want to change. And the perception is we want to keep it the way we've always been doing it. That's the perception. That's what they think of teachers. Right? But we know better. So this is our challenge. Now, are you committed to the challenge?
Yes.
I didn't hear you.
Yes.
No, it needs to be louder.
Yes.
All right. So if I get called to DC or Dr. McQueen gets called to DC, we can call on any of you. Okay. All right. You just need a ticket.